Hello. We're going to pick up my sister today, so I'm gonna have to make this one short because we gotta do it in less than half an hour. So let's start with the diet update. I weighed myself this morning. I am currently 175.2 pounds. That's down a pound point one from yesterday. Pretty good. Yesterday, I actually didn't have a lot to eat. In the morning, I had that not so great egg burrito with bacon and that zero carb tortilla that was very dry. And then in the afternoon, I had full fat Greek yogurt, one serving of that, which was 170 calories and 7 grams of carbs. I had dark chocolate keto snacks, which was chocolate covered nuts, and it had a total net carb count of 4 grams and 130 calories. And for a sweetener, I used xylitol, which has 0 carbs and 0 calories. Finally, gosh, what did I use after that? Oh yeah, a strawberry pate where I took 4 frozen strawberries. That was about 4 grams of carbs. And I mixed that with xylitol and I warmed that in the microwave for about a minute. And then I grind it down with a little hand grinder down to a pate to put in the yogurt, which helped give it a nice tart flavor. And it was very good. And that's pretty much what I ate. I mean, I did have a few other miscellaneous things. A dollop of 0 sugar whipped cream. I also had 1 chicharron, literally just one, and my vitamins before going to sleep. That's pretty much what I ate yesterday. I haven't eaten yet today because we are picking up my sister this morning, and we said we would go to a restaurant to get something to eat. Of course, I'm going to keep it low carb, nothing sugary. So I'd imagine like an omelet with maybe some sausage and bacon. It's probably what I'm gonna eat. Well, let's get in with the update for yesterday. So after I finished recording my video update for that day, I got ready. I put on my socks, my shoes, got everything I needed, and me and my mom drove off to get a cabinet that we're planning on installing on the wall in the back room for the kitchen cabinet area. Now, we drove for about a half hour, and as we were driving, we were talking about various ways of abandoning bad habits because we're trying to improve ourselves and stop being stagnant in our development. And it was sparked on by a article I was reading about how people who are irrational in terms of their behavior decide on irrational choices because they think irrationally. Pretty obvious, but the article was trying to understand why some people think like that. Because you have people who are more practical, who immediately understand what they're doing wrong and correct it. Then you have people who need more information, who are simply naive and don't understand how things work. And then once they have the information, they figure it out. And then you have people who, even when they do have the information, still fail to avoid performing the bad habit. This was like being done as a study in like an Australian college where a guy was getting people to play a game where you have 2 outcomes. You're like doing space trading with 2 different planets. One planet, 20% of the time, you will get raided by space pirates, and the other planet, 20% of the time, you'll just encounter a neutral spaceship that won't affect your cargo. And it was supposed to be what happens when you make choices and the reasons for making them. The ultimate end lesson was people who think irrationally must be dealt with more on an emotional level than a logical level, because even when you present them with the logical facts, they still are more impulsive, and so they choose the more irrational path. It was pretty interesting talk, I'd say. Then I told her about how my store's having a strike, or they voted for a strike, and if the union doesn't get their way with the employer, then the employees will go on strike. So that was a pretty interesting conversation. Then we arrived at the area that had the kitchen cabinet, and it was one of those very interesting office areas where it kind of looked like a condo mixed with a college. And there was like various different offices and businesses that were privately being held on 2 stories. No elevator. And this is annoying because the cabinet was on the second floor. In this office ran by a lady who said she was retiring. She looked like she was in her like mid 40s though, so I guess her business was making a lot of money. But yeah, she was taking care of her kids, and she was trying to get rid of things so that way she could just get out of the office without having to worry about carrying anything. And she was selling one of the cabinets in her office, and my mom happened to spot the listing and bought it for $65. However, this cabinet was a lot bigger than my mom was expecting. She thought it was going to be a bit smaller, but this thing was big. Like, so big, I honestly don't know if we'll be able to fit it, like, on the wall back at the house, but lo and behold, we had to figure out how to get it down because we spent all the time and energy getting there in the first place. So they started removing the cupboard slider things, the panels that go in layers in the drawer, and that helped take some weight off, but it was honestly still quite heavy. We tried lifting it out of the office and we did a good job successfully. Luckily, my mom suggested bringing a skateboard that we could use as a way to transport the cupboard and make it easier for ourselves. And the lady who was giving it to us asked if my mom could bring the car around to a closer area where we could take the cupboard to the car in a more efficient manner. So she did that, and then when she came back, we brought the cupboard all the way over to the stairs, and we were having difficulty trying to get it down the stairs because the thing was really heavy. My mom had the idea of removing the cupboard doors to help lighten it up a bit. Then randomly, there was a guy who showed up who just so happened to own a construction business who saw that we were struggling. He was like a guy who looked to be in his like 50s, I'd say. And if he happened to have a screwdriver lying around, he decided to check the cupboard himself, and he found that the doors were actually clip-ons, and you could easily clip off the cupboard doors, which we didn't know about until he showed us. And we were very grateful because that saved us a ton of weight. So the thing was a bit more bearable to carry down the stairs. He even helped me and my mom carry it down the stairs as well, which was really nice of him. We really appreciated that. We did manage to get it down. It was a bit of a kerfluffle, but we did it. And there just so happened to be an opening that was even closer to where the cupboard was. And so my mom decided to bring the car around to get there so we could bring it in. As she was getting the car, I went upstairs. I said goodbye to the lady. I said thank you. She gave me this craft box that she said that my mom was interested in. So I took that. Then I took the cupboard doors and was bringing them downstairs. As I was doing it, my mom told me that she couldn't believe it. A truck scraped against the corner bumper of her car and caused damage. She was trying to park in an area, and instead of the truck just giving her the time to back in and park in the area, the truck instead, whoever was driving it decided to just go like around really quickly. And when they did that, like, they didn't signal at all to my mom, and they ended up scraping the corner bumper of the car. And now the corner bumper is like been scuffed and has cracked paint, and it's pretty disappointing, not gonna lie, because that car was pretty valuable. So it just getting scuffed like that because someone was too impatient to wait for someone to back into a driving spot is unacceptable and very mean. The sad thing is the person who did it didn't even stop to say, "Are you okay?" They just drove off, which let's just hope that karma teaches them a thing or two, I guess. My mom was so shocked by the situation, she didn't think about taking a picture of the driver's license plate. I don't blame her, though. Like, anyone would be shocked in a situation like that. Such a shame. Well, after the initial shock wore off and I checked in, make sure she was okay, she said she was, but she was shocked that someone would do that. After we expressed our disappointment and frustration with the situation, we brought the cupboard into the back of the vehicle, and there was a guy who stopped by to try to help us out by pushing the wooden cupboard into the car. And once we got it in there, we got the boards and we got the skateboard in, and then we closed the door and headed back home. Now, as we were going home, we had a conversation with Grok about how the cupboard might be able to fit on the wall in the room. So as long as the board is supported by 3 studs, then it should be fine. So we eventually arrived back home, and when we got home, we needed to put the cupboard away in the garage, and so we had to move around a lot of paint and a bed frame that was there at the time. And once we moved all of that around, put it away, and our family friend stopped by to ask how the trip went. We explained everything that happened when it came to the car incident, and the friend was upset for us. Yeah. Well, after that, I remember I was quite hungry. My mom needed to go to work. She left for work. I made myself the yogurt, and then afterwards, I remember I was just listening to multiple different videos. The first one that I remember listening to was a new Digital Foundry, which was about various things like a new power saving mode on the PlayStation 5 that could signify a handheld is somewhere in the way, among various other stories. The other one I remember was a story about this guy from a show called My 600 Pound Life, who was basically a really manipulative individual who did whatever he could to get his way at his dad's house. But now that he's by himself, they tried to get him on the straight and narrow path, but ultimately he failed to get down that path because he continued going down his compulsive and manipulative behavior. And now it seems like he's like starting to fall apart. Like he's lost his teeth, his hair's falling out, and he's grossly overweight. And so now it seems like he's going to basically, well, not have that long of enough time to live. It was interesting watching the video about the struggles that was going through in that family and how family trauma can ultimately cause reverberating negative effects for a family unit later in the future. But at some point, the people who were affected need to begin to take responsibility for their own actions and fight for the right thing, which is what the guy in the video did not do. And he just continued to be very compulsive and manipulative and selfish. It was very sad. Then I listened to a podcast where a guy was talking with a scientist who was exploring the realms of a particular mind-altering substance. It's from the YouTube channel Jesse Michaels. He was trying to understand if there was any signifying abilities that increase your awareness using the substance so that way you can explore other parts of reality. It was an okay video. Went on a little too long though. And then I listened to a video about a guy who was putting a projector screen up, and it was a pretty compelling video. It was from a channel called Techmoan, where the guy had been through various different screen projectors, and he wanted one where the screen projector was flattened and pulled out so there'd be no rifts or warping in the screen. And he found one being sold for a good $1,000, but he was able to buy it for $900. Well, quid actually, because he was British, I believe. And he basically went through the struggles of putting it up and the upsides and downsides of his progress. Very compelling video, I'd say. Then I finally decided to start editing my video, but not before cleaning up the pool vacuum's filter and then checking to see if the pool needed any bleach tabs, which it did. So I let my mom know, and she said, well, she asked me to check, and I checked, and I let her know, and she said, all right, I'm going to put tabs in. Well, after that, I did some editing, and I managed to cut out a lot of rambling, and I wanted to have my video cut out all the fat and get straight to the point, so that way it wouldn't be too boring to listen to and would be more engaging. And I think I did a pretty good job. Normally I would spend the hour cutting out long pauses or cutting out parts where I'd go or or likes, but now I was paying attention to the context of what I was saying and starting to be more judgmental about what works and what doesn't. Pretty interesting. Well, that's pretty much it. I went to sleep. As I was going to sleep, I was listening to a video about the human jobs that'll still be around when AI is on the rise. Basically all the human service jobs, like doctors, police officers, jobs where you have to be one-on-one with a human being are jobs that will still be persistent. But jobs that you really do to make products or sellable things will have a tougher time. Well, after that, I changed to a video that played some binaural beats. I went to sleep. No dreams. When I woke up, I checked my weight, got some water, and I recorded this video. No push-ups because I did do over an hour of editing yesterday. And yeah, today's going to be an interesting ride, that's for sure. Well, thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye, everybody.